Welcome, class.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day today. It is absolutely gorgeous in Alabama. Humidity's been low. It hasn't rained in a few days, so we've had plenty of time to do all of the stuff that we need to do, and we're on schedule. We will talk more about what's going on in Alabama and the campground a little bit later in the video, but we've got a power-packed class for you today that Mercedes has prepared. As always, she hit everything. But to start off, I just want to say that we get attacked a lot in the comments because we use the word newbie, or people think we're making fun of newbies. Guys, we are the champion of newbies. The reason we share all this information is because we made every mistake you can make. And so have a little humility. Always have a sense of humor. Life is so short, guys. If you're new, you're going to make mistakes. It comes with the territory. That's how you learn. Don't be so hard on yourself. And the really important piece is not to make the big mistakes. And that's what we're going to talk about in this class today. We're also going to fill in some of our dumbest mistakes, guys. So we're going to say, we're going to talk about mistakes that everyone should know, but we're also going to talk about mistakes that were really embarrassing to talk about, but we're going to share them all with you today.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when we were preparing for the class. You see, I had a list of mistakes that were very personal to us, things that we had done. And John's like, "Are you trying to make me look like an idiot?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm trying to make us look like idiots. Not that it's that hard, right?"
Yeah, but I'm the man, so
I know
it lays on me.
His ego was hurt a little bit, but you know what? That's what you're talking about, being able to laugh at yourself. Because if you can't laugh at yourself,
you're too serious.
Yeah, life is too short. And we're all newbies.
We're all newbies. Even talk to the guys, the gals that have been doing this for 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. The ones with wisdom will tell you you're always learning. You're never going to know everything.
Exactly. And the minute you know everything, that means you know nothing, right?
You're in big trouble.
Exactly. So keeping in mind that we're all newbies, right? We're all constantly learning. There is no such thing as knowing everything that there is to know about a certain subject. We want to start off with premises that will apply to every aspect of our being, which is definitely the not taking yourself too seriously, not thinking that you know everything, but most importantly, always double, triple, quadruple check.
Check everything, guys. It's almost like a carpenter will say, measure twice, cut once, right? So always do a walk around, always double check yourself, and try not to get distracted when you're in your process. Everybody's going to make their own personal checklist for how they set up their RV, how do they break down their RV, how they travel in their RV. And we could give you what we do, but really it's not going to pertain to any of you because each of you is going to have to build your own list.
Well, which is actually why we made the download, which I've included right now in the chats. You'll see it in the description below. So typically we do fill in the blank kind of format, but this, I really wanted you guys to take something that you could actually use on a regular basis. So this download is going to be more of a checklist of the things that you should be doing on a regular basis. So we're going to start with buying mistakes. So this is before you even have the RV in hand. We're going to talk about a couple of things, and this is probably one of the areas that we're most embarrassed because we consider ourselves to be, I don't know, I wouldn't say I'm a financial genius by any means, but I think I have certain financial, I thought
acumen,
I thought I was, and so I think the big thing when it comes to RVing and buying an RV is that I kind of assumed it'd be like a hybrid between a house and an automobile. And it's really more like an automobile, except you don't have as many protections as you would with an automobile.
Yep, there is no lemon law when it comes to RVs, so you got to be super, super careful. And what Mercedes is trying to say is she was a mortgage banker for years.
I really thought I knew something about finances.
Yeah, and I, being a contractor, have bought dozens and dozens of new trucks and closed lots of different deals on purchasing equipment. But when we walked into Camping World for the very first time, because that was the place that had our rig, we bought into the dream. And these guys are trying to sell you the dream, guys. Leave your checkbook at home. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But never, ever, ever finance your RV for 20 years or plus.
Yeah.
Always have 10 to 15% to put down, and never finance for more than 10 years. We would suggest 7 to 10 years. Remember, it's a depreciating asset. So you as soon as you drive off the lot, you're going to be upside down.
And this is really hard because that 20-year payment sure is attractive, right? However, it makes no financial sense whatsoever to take a depreciating asset and amortize it over that long of a term. And what's more, like the commercials that say, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
We not only amortize our RV for that amount of time, we also purchased every single additional warranty that we were offered. Some lasted for 2, 3, 5, 7 years. And we financed those over 20 years.
Over 20 years on all of our warranties, guys. Now, if you guys are RV Odd Squad members, you know that Mercedes and I canceled all our warranties 6 months in because we couldn't get service done.
But we can't tell you necessarily to do that, to each his own.
What we can tell you is we've learned to shop warranties. Consider not buying them from the dealership. Dealerships mark warranties up to 60% higher at the dealership than they would if you shop them yourselves. They're the same warranties, guys.
And this is huge. Shopping your warranties, if you decide to go that route, it's going to keep that dealership honest. It's going to give you more options. It is so, so important. I mean, how dumb is that to pay for 20 years on something that's only going to last 3 years? This is probably the most embarrassing aspect. It hurts my pride a lot, but I think this is also one of the things that has helped the most people. And isn't that funny how it works? Like the thing you hate the most or are most embarrassed about could actually help the most amount of people.
Definitely.
So the other piece that we would really recommend, and I know that, I think I think I'm pretty smart, right? I think I'm a little smart, but I kid you not, when I go into an RV dealership and I see an RV that I like, all my smarts goes out the window and I already see myself in the RV, even if it's not realistic.
Cooking in the kitchen, sleeping in the bed, showering in the shower. They got these outdoor kitchens now. They got all these bells and whistles. And that's what you've got to be careful of. These guys are sharks. And most of these guys that sell RVs don't even RV, guys. So they're making it up as they go along. Mm-hmm. So again, never bring your checkbook ever, ever, ever when you're shopping RVs.
So that way you can't buy it.
You can't buy it.
You need to make a physical barrier, an obstacle, so that you don't buy into the temptation. Because these decisions should be made with some caution and some premeditation. They should not be made on the spot. And I think the other thing that is really, really important is to walk through as many RVs as possible. This is not like when you buy a house that it's kind of rude to sit on someone else's couch when you're buying a house. You would never lay down in someone's bed when you're buying a house, right? But when you're walking through RVs, it's a little bit different. You really should stand in the shower and do the elbow test.
Everything.
Especially if you're buying a super small RV, you should sit on the toilet and see if you can close the door. Those of you out there that have long legs, these tiny, the little tiny ones, sometimes you can't even close toilets.
Yeah, and some of you guys watch Matt's RV reviews. We love Matt. Yeah. We kind of come up with Matt. Matt will always sit in the toilet, stand in the shower. He actually has a sticker for that. But,
if you want to.
Yeah, and so the point here, guys, is that it usually takes even seasoned RVers 2 to 3 rigs to dial in on the perfect rig. Now, there is no perfect rig, right? But take the time to do your research and go to shows where you can get on as many RVs as you possibly can. Narrow it down so you are certain, or at least 90% sure, that that's the rig you want to buy, and then shop it.
Exactly. I think the other piece that's really important too is to read the contract, because I didn't have the best experience, but the reality is, had I just read the first 2 lines of what I was signing, I would have read that I was not just shopping for an RV, that I was actually buying it. So read the contract. I know there's a lot of pressure to get in and get out, but never fall for that.
And again, if you guys remember, we signed a purchase order when we thought we were just giving them permission to check our credit, and it fell apart from there. So again, don't let the excitement take you over. Be smart.
Yeah. So the next one, this goes hand in hand with buying an RV, and that's your RV insurance. And one of the biggest mistakes that we made, we already made a lot of big financial mistakes here, right? The way we finance the RV, etc. But we really put our family's finances in harm's way when we didn't get the right insurance, because what happened was we weren't full-time RVing immediately, right? We were part-time practicing. So when we got the insurance, which we were doing on the way to like leave with the,
we just signed
on
up
the
online.
highway. Yeah,
we
it
picked
was
the
like,
cheapest stuff.
yeah, it was like on the highway while we're on our way to
we
pick up
weren't
the
full
RV.
time at that time, so we told them we're not full time.
Which at that point was true, but as soon as we became full time, which we were so overwhelmed with everything else, the thought never even crossed our minds. We were severely underinsured, and what's worse is that because we have a YouTube channel about RVing, this could be considered a business.
We
right?
are considered a business.
We're definitely considered a business. Even though it's our home, it's also our business. And so that's a different kind of insurance. And you need to get in writing that the insurance company will insure you if something happens to your home, because it's like, well, what about if something happens when I'm not working, right?
Yeah.
And so you really have to make sure that you have a good insurance agent that's willing to do this and that you're honest with them. This is tricky because it's very easy to just kind of like get the bare minimums to get the lowest price possible.
That's what everybody does nowadays.
But what we found is, yeah, our insurance increased, but we got 10 times the coverage.
10 times the coverage, guys. And you know, most of you know who Marty is. We chose Charlotte Insurance. We're coming up on 400 policies that the RV Odd Squad has now purchased through Marty. Marty is now designated one of, I believe, only 5 or 6 RV specialists in the country. So our group is growing and growing and growing. If you're interested in talking to Marty and getting insurance, go to RVOddSquadInsurance.com. You'll see Mercedes' pretty face. I think half of mine is cut out in this one, which is a good thing.
His face was kind of cut off, which is kind of funny. He doesn't care.
Yeah, but what's cool about Marty is he's got 4 agents working our team now.
Just on
RV Odd Squad.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah, they're buried guys, but they do a great job. We've seen nothing but great reviews on the people that have used it, and he saves some of our people a lot of money. So
yeah,
RVOddSquadInsurance.com, guys.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. All right, so now that we've kind of covered the buying the RV mistakes, and these are just the dumbest ones. Like, if we were to have a competition on who did the dumbest stuff,
we win.
We win.
We win.
And so the next piece I want to talk about is more the travel day mistakes, and these kind of they kind of center around safety. But I do have a hilarious personal mistake on our very first trip that I did. I don't know if you remember this, but I was so worried about packing everything that we needed. I forgot bed sheets. And we literally had to sleep on top of the comforter that comes with. I completely forgot the bed sheets. So that's the kind of dumb mistake, though, that you're going to look back and laugh at. Just expect to do something dumb. You're going
to make mistakes. And so have a sense of humor about it, guys, and really try to, especially when you're first starting out, focus. If somebody comes up to you and tries to talk to you when you're hooking up your rig or detaching your rig, just look at them and say, listen, I really have to focus on what I'm doing now. I'm new at this, and please be patient with me, or I'll talk to you later. So these are mistakes we've made.
Yeah.
Okay. That we're just bringing up to you guys, and you guys should be grabbing notebooks because we've got some really good stuff in this.
And make sure you get the download where we have the checklist of the big safety ones.
Yep.
The ones that could kill you if you don't do it.
So the most important thing when you're hooking your RV up to pull it for the first time is double, triple check everything and do a pull test. I don't know if you've ever seen enjoyyourjourney.life. They've got a YouTube channel. Well, they weren't connected, and he pulled away and wrecked the bed of his truck and did a lot of damage to the RV. So always do a pull test. The way you do that is you bring your landing gear in the front just up a little bit, and then give a couple of tugs to make sure you're connected. Make sure all your pins are in, and make sure that all your lights are working before you move.
And that was the pin in California
that
freaked you out.
Yeah, I went through California. I was about 3 months in. We're going through the Sierras, and I forgot to drop the pin in our fifth wheel. You know how the bar pulls shut? We've got a Champion fifth wheel hitch. And I had pulled that shut, but I did not put the pin in, so I didn't have that safety. And when we finally stopped, it was about 5 or 6 hours of driving down some crazy roads. When I saw it wasn't there, my heart dropped. Yeah. Because I immediately saw what could have happened. especially in the roads we were at that time.
Like,
and so since then, I've never done it again. But I think God was protecting us on that one. That is probably the scariest mistake I've made so far.
And I think it's really good that you admit it, because you're like a full-time RVer. You're doing this all the time. We all do some knuckleheaded things. It's funny how sometimes it's like the baby things that will really trip you up, you know, because we're so busy focusing on big things that it's really easy to forget about those.
Next thing.
Yes.
Make sure when you pull over at a rest stop, right, and you're going to the bathroom or you're just taking a break to stretch out.
Yeah.
Mercedes and I have 2 sets of stairs on our new rig. When we were coming from Indiana towards Florida, Mercedes, I don't know if you guys remember, Mercedes got food poisoning.
I was sick.
So we were constantly stopping every 5 or 6 miles so Mercedes could yak. And we'd open the door and shut the door. Now on the rig we have, the back stairs allow you to get in the bathroom. When it's closed up, we have no access to the bathroom of the master when it's closed up. So we've got to go through that second set of stairs just to use the bathroom. We also need to go through the main set of stairs to go up and turn the pump for the water pump on. Never leave your pump running when you're driving down the road, guys. Something kicks up, hits one of those wires, it's just going to run dry.
And that's something that we've done multiple times, usually due to a lack of communication, because he will, like when he was last there, things were fine. And then I'll come in and maybe he thought I was going to take care of the stairs, or like in the case of when it happened when I was sick, my mind was nowhere near thinking about stairs. I was just thinking about how I could hold down like fluids, because I was,
my mind was considering bringing her to the hospital.
Yeah,
so
I was telling
we were all
him,
over the place.
Yeah, we literally almost drove the RV in the hospital. Yeah. And so the trick though with the rest stops, and why we bring this up, is that it's really easy when you know you're getting ready to travel and you're gonna hit the road, you're on alert, right? But when you're pulling into a rest stop and you're just going for a potty break, it's really easy to forget to do those walkarounds. So that's when the guard is a little bit down, and it really shouldn't be. Yeah,
and we had been driving for 12 or 13 hours. Dumb mistake. So again, when you guys say we making fun of newbies, we're making fun of ourselves, guys. We've done these mistakes too. Long story short, we started out onto the highway. Mercedes was still sick. All of a sudden, we came out in the main road. This trucker basically forced us into the breakdown lane, going like this. And I'm like, what a jerk. This guy's a jerk. And then when I looked in the rearview mirror and I saw my stairs bouncing off the ground, I was like, thank you for doing that. You know, he pushed me off the side and protected us. We took no damage, but that could have been a really bad mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just a quick reminder, we will get to all your questions at the end. We see some really good ones.
Yep.
I'm kind of chiming
Put them in all caps so we can find them at the end, you guys.
Yeah. And Brian, I got you. We're going to talk about your question in a minute. But we do want to go through this in order so that we don't forget.
The next one is check your slides, guys, always.
And this is huge.
It's huge. And we've got really close friends that have done serious damage to the rig. We have a child that loves Legos, little pieces. So before you pull your slides in, you got to take the time. We've got 6 slides on this rig to clean that area out. Mercedes usually washes the floor right before we close up. She sweeps and washes the floor because we're going to do it anyways.
But right? I have a child that's undoing everything that I'm doing.
We do something, she's into something else. And we have literally more toys in this rig than we do anything else.
Yeah.
My tools are gone. We needed to get rid of a lot of the tools so that Sage could have more toys.
I think that's a great decision, frankly. Like totally reasonable and realistic.
And we've tore our floor up 3 different times, guys. Something's under there. It's this linoleum that they put in these things is super shabby. It's super thin. It gets ripped up easy. And so before you pull your slides in, make sure you do a walkthrough and clean those areas up. On the opposite side, when you pull into a parking spot, usually I'm focusing on getting the spot of the rig positioned exactly where I want her to be.
Yeah.
But you also need to make sure you have enough room when you push your slides out, not to hit any of the park's power, not to hit the poles, not to hit the water. There's always some trees in the way. Not just on the low portion, but up high. Different trees can do a lot of damage to your rig.
Yeah.
So I am, doing this 2 years now. I'm really good at knowing where I need to be. I try never to encroach on my neighbor's property, but I do try to get as close to that as I possibly can. But just make sure. One of the cool things about our Forest River is we've got an app now where I can put the slides out. And so I can literally go outside and pull my slides out and keep an eye on it not hitting anything. The other tip that I'd give you is if you can't be outside, if it's pouring and you're putting your slides out, just listen. Ask everybody to be quiet, because if something's binding up, you will hear it.
Well, and I think the other piece that is really important when it comes to slides, or, I mean, because typically his domain is outside, my domain is inside. But when we first started, he would take it personal if I was walking around the rig, like, what are you doing looking at?
I felt like she was looking after me, right?
Yeah,
like, come on, I'm a man. I do everything right.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
And then the other piece, though, is like, I kind of didn't like it when I told him I had gotten this and then he double check it. We learned really quickly 2 important lessons. The first of which is don't take it personal when they're checking, because they got your back. That's good. The fact that they're double checking what you're doing is a good thing.
Yeah, RVing with a partner, guys, is a team sport.
But the other thing that's really important is that when they mess up, don't rub their face in it, because your turn is next. It's super easy to be like, I told you so.
Mm-hmm.
No. You're tempting fate.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Yeah. And so it's always good. It's a team sport, guys. It's always good for your partner to always be checking over your back. Guys, don't take it personal. Now, when Mercedes says, do you check this? Did you check that? Or she walks behind me, double checking that I'm hitting everything, I always say, thanks, babe. Thank you. Thank you for watching my back.
Yeah. So important. All right. So let's talk about the next one, which is about the propane when rolling. And this is terrifying. Actually, Sage's pediatrician, they were on an RV trip and the RV caught fire while they were driving.
Yeah,
this
true
is
story.
Super scary. And she's like, I loved RVing. I can't wait to RV again. But it was really horrible. Her whole family was in the motorhome and it just caught fire. And so the propane is nothing to mess with.
Yeah, when you're tying up your rig, always shut your propane off, or at least have what's called a gas stop. We're going to put a link to the gas stop down below that will get RV Odd Squad members 10% off. I think it's like $80, something like that. I haven't looked at it recently. Or it's a little gauge that goes on your tanks. And if you forget to shut them off and there's suddenly a release of pressure because a rock kicked up underneath the rig when you're going down the road and broke the system, it notices. It's got a little regulator that will shut it off if it starts losing gas for any reason. So the gas stop, we have 2 gas stops on both of our propane tanks, but make sure if you don't have one, shut that propane off. And we do have gas stops on 2 tanks, but we also still shut them off just as a, the other cool thing about the gas stop, guys, is that before that, I had no idea how much propane I have left. And so now the gas stop shows me how much propane I have on both my tanks.
Exactly. This is so, so important. All right. So the next piece that you guys know that we have, especially those of you that saw our first RV, know that we make a lot of mistakes. This one we didn't make, surprisingly, which is the always have a TPMS to measure your tires and monitor your tires. Admittedly, though, full disclosure, sometimes we kind of wait till last minute and we're like, oh yeah, let's check the tires.
Yeah.
So that's something that, is really important to do before your trip because you want to get that cold pressure. Mm-hmm. But definitely checking those tires before you set off, because the tires are not something that you're like, oh, it's a little low, it's okay. That's not something that you're going to want to like slack on and see what happens. That's not something you want to take a risk on.
Right. And so go in order, guys. Remember, you're brand new. Your rig is rated. It's on a sticker on the side for how much content you can carry. And that content also includes your storage tanks. Mm-hmm. And usually on rigs, it's not a lot. So when you think you're underweight, it doesn't matter. The first thing you need to go is to go to CAT scales or a weigh station and get your rig, weighed. Mm-hmm. If you are over the contents, then your tires are not safe. Okay. Everything in these rigs is laid out and they're low. So, always have better tires than they suggest. And always have a TPMS. You've got to monitor your tires when you're driving. Just the peace of mind that it gives me knowing that I've got my TST is monitoring my tires for me when I'm driving and I'm looking at my daughter in the back seat, my wife next to me, and everything I own. Okay, it gives me a peace of mind. It's worked for me 3 times. It caught a slow leak once and then 2 fast leaks. Mm-hmm. at a different time. So my TPMS has paid for itself 10 times over.
Yeah. And then you also leaned into the weigh your vehicle. I did put that in the downloadable checklist, but weighing your vehicle is not something you need to do like every time you travel. I just wanted to write it down because it is really important to get the weight on things. And it's scary to think that, you know, it's funny because these RVs have so many compartments and I want to fill every single compartment. Mm-hmm. And that's not exactly like the ideal to do.
Mm-hmm. And you would think that 1,550 pounds, which is about average on a fifth wheel, right, that you can carry is a lot, but that's not including your liquids, guys. So if you have full freshwater tanks, that is a lot of weight.
Exactly. All right. Now the next one, okay, the awnings. And this one, we've kind of gotten in trouble with the awnings recently. Oh, I should add that to the list of things that we need to work on.
Yeah.
So when it's raining, you don't want to have the awnings out all the way, right? Because it's really bad for the awning. Well, I didn't realize that John had locked the awning in a downward slope intentionally.
Right, because our awning is so big that it'll actually hold water in the center. And then you guys know this, right? It'll hold the water as a puddle and then it will dump all at once and splash all over the place. So when we put our awnings out, usually I'll tie one downside by tightening up the screw. So my awning is more like this. So the water will naturally fall off and not sit in one pool. When you go to pull your awnings in, and you should never leave your awnings out when you're not at your rig.
Yeah.
Or when you fall asleep at night, especially if you're in a thunderstorm area or heavy winds, it'll get ripped right off your RV, guys. So pull those awnings in whenever you possibly can. And then please, mistake we made. I had tightened off one side to keep it like this, and Mercedes went to pull the awning in and never untighten that.
Because I assumed, because you know, awnings do have an automatic thing where they'll tilt automatically if it gets too heavy as a safety precaution. So I assumed it had just tilted automatically, and I was like, let's just bring that thing in because the weather's kind of gnarly. Well, it wasn't like that because of the weather. It was like that because my husband had put it like that. So then I forced the awning in. And now it's like a tricky situation. And you'll see a lot of RV parks. They'll say like, did you forget the awning? Did you forget the hoses, the electrical cord, the wife? You know, like they'll have these reminders as you exit the park. Mm-hmm. But definitely the awning is one that on a hot day is so easy to forget because you're relying on that shade. And you say to yourself, oh, I'll do it later. I'm going to do that last thing.
Yep.
And, you know, the mental sticky note flies off in the head.
Yeah, awnings is so important, guys, and you'll talk to so many people who have lost the awnings, and they're big bucks to replace.
Exactly.
So just keep a heads up, especially coming into summer. That shade, that those awnings, even if you're on your pop outs, that really will help keep your rig, you know, cool.
Exactly. So lots of really good stuff here. And what's awesome is that everyone is chiming in the comments.
That's why we love the RV Odd Squad, guys. You guys taught us how to RV. We do videos, we'd miss 50 different things, and then you go to the comment section and literally you would find everything that we missed. And so the RV Odd Squad is the best community on the planet.
Yep. And I think this next one, which kind of ties into the awnings and with the storm, we're getting asked the question, if it's a bad storm, is it safer to pull the slides in as well? I don't think we've ever encountered a storm that bad, but if it's raining and we have awning slide covers, we have slide covers like mini awnings on the slide. So we're not too concerned about it getting wet, but I guess if it was bad enough, you can consider that.
If it's blowing wind, guys, you know, these rigs have seals on the inside and the outside. So when you do your pop outs out, there's going to be a seal. Now you get a driving rain or a driving wind. What's going to happen is those seals can sometimes fail, or there can be a leaf stuck in there. So it's always good when you put your slides out to make sure it's sealed all the way around. It also lets bugs in, right? So make sure you've got a good seal to the outside. But I do think it's a great idea. If you've got serious wind coming to things, I would attach my rig to the fifth wheel, just give it a little bit more weight to hold it down. And then I would pull my slides in if it was going to be a really bad storm.
Yeah. So the other thing, though, that I was going to say is, you know, the weather piece, and we've recently gotten really bit on that one. traveling through Tornado Alley, long distance, it's really easy to just check the weather of where you're at, not check the weather of where you're going, or just check the weather of where you're going and not check the weather in between. So this isn't like paid or anything. This is just like we'll use AccuWeather, or sometimes we'll use the Apple weather. And that is something that has helped, because when you see the radar, that helps it so that we can avoid, so that we don't have to, worry about where the clouds are. Because then you can see you can actually physically see where the really bad,
So what Mercedes is trying to say is that just have a weather app, whatever it is. Doppler radar is helpful. There's different things with different layers. Suggestion for John. Okay, I'll stop and read this.
No, I'm not asking you.
Put something soft like a towel on the table. Every time your arms or hands hit, it makes an annoying noise.
I'm trying to help you out.
I don't believe you. I just don't believe you.
You're not getting the hint. I'm like, I keep trying to all right. So now that we've covered travel day mistakes, let's talk
and no
about
elbows on the table.
Thank you, John. Now let's talk about setup mistakes, which we've kind of alluded to some. A big, huge one that is absolutely terrifying is forgetting to chalk your vehicle.
Always chalk your vehicle, guys. When we were just getting into this, luckily we used to watch these young kids. What was the name of their channel?
Getaway.
The Getaway Couple. We used to like watching these two. And they shared a story that the first time they, detached their rig from their truck, they have a fifth wheel. They never chalked their tires and their rig started rolling away. Now, thank God it ended well, but always chalk your tires. Even if you think you're on flat level ground, just chalk your tires for safety. It takes 2 seconds, guys, and it can save you a lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying to think about that. The next one, which I think is really tempting to do, and see, we were lucky because you randomly met some guy at a gas station who had just bought an RV. You were talking to the gas station attendant about looking for an RV, and the guy behind you is like, I just bought an RV from this place. And I parked for the first time at an RV park, and all of my wires got fried.
He figured he was going to save $200, $300, $400 on not buying a surge protector, guys. Mm-hmm. This is one you should not skimp at.
Exactly.
You have to have a surge protector. We love the Power Watchdog. We think it's the best. It comes with a great app. We love the company. Great customer service. But even if it's not Power Watchdog, just make sure you have a surge protector. Most of the parks around the country are not updated. And they have trouble even pushing out enough power to the people that are there. Mm-hmm. So protect your family and your rig and its wiring by buying a surge protector. You have to have one. Yeah. And I remember when we bought ours, we bought our rig for the first time, the salesman was selling me all kinds of stuff in the building, and I did not want to spend $300 on a surge protector, but I did. I bought a cheap one. I think it was Southwestern or something, and I quickly found out that I wish I had bought something else. But now we know the right stuff to buy.
Well, and what had happened though was we had bought so much on like accessories, like collapsible balls and everything that collapses, that by the time we were actually getting things we needed, like a surge protector, we were like, oh, we just spent like $1,000 on all this stuff. Do we really need to spend a couple $100 on a surge protector? That seems really expensive.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
You have to, yeah.
Compared to the cost of all your wires getting fixed, that's insane.
It is insane.
All
right. And so also, you are going to want to have all the additional hoses, extension cords, dog bones for 15 amp, 20 amp, 30 amp, 50 amp. You don't know exactly what you're going to get, guys, when you pull into a park. Maybe they don't have 50 amp, or maybe they have 2 30 amps and no 50 amps. Well, there is a dog bone that will go 30 amp to 50 amp. Maybe park power's out and all you can get is 15 or 20 amp, which is one of the reasons we love our soft starts on our ACs. We can run our ACs on with soft start all the way down to 15 is low. They'd struggle with 15, but they run on 20 amps. So look into a soft start, especially coming into summer, the heated months. These things are hard to keep cool, guys. Super hard to keep cool. Try to park in some shade. Always, that'll help keep your rig cooler, and have soft starts on your air conditioners. You can use it to about any power that's available. Even a small generator will run them.
Well, and back to the actual extra things. So like extra hoses, different size hoses, right? Um, the tubes. What are the tank
The sewer?
tubes? Yeah, the
Sewer lines.
Also the extension cords. Now this is kind of a funny. Okay, this is going to be kind of embarrassing, but remember how we used to follow this couple that had a small Airstream, and the guy said in one of his videos, "I'm fine with like a 10-foot hose for sewer," right? And so I really thought that, well, if he's fine with the 10-foot hose, we should be fine with the 10-foot hose. But like, we have a 40-foot fifth wheel. He has a 20-foot travel trailer. Your needs, you can't expect the same thing.
You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know what you're going to need.
Especially now with campgrounds being so full, you might not get the perfect site. And your sewer could be 50 or 60 feet away. We had that happen to us in Oregon.
Yeah.
Literally, the place was a good 35, 40 feet from where our rig was. And everybody's was right next to each other. And there was hoses everywhere.
Yeah.
So just be ready for anything. We always carry extra hoses. Also, different attachments to go into the park sewer lines. Different sizes, 5-inch, 4-inch. But just have the adapters you need to lock that down into the campground sewer, and put some weight on top of it just as a backup so it doesn't pop up and get you when you're dumping.
And it's funny that you should mention it, because our friends, who I am going to laugh at, okay, because they're our friends and I'm allowed to laugh at our friends, taking our toys and living, Jason and Amy said, make sure you put a rock or a sandbag on the poop hose so you don't have a poop cobra.
Yep.
We also had friends that were cleaning tanks, and what was it that they didn't realize they had something on, and then the poop overflowed into the RV? Remember that they?
They were actually doing a flush out of their system, their black tanks, but they accidentally shut off when they would drain. They shut the drain off. They thought it was empty, and then they started, flushing out their black tank, and they forgot to turn it off, guys. And we can't even tell you what happened. It was a nasty mess in these people's rig, all the black stuff.
And she was like mortified. And this was one of those situations where he had like worked really hard to convince her to RV. And these were people that had been RVing for a while when this happened. So this is not like exactly a newbie,
Right.
We're all
going to make mistakes. Even the guy that's 30, 40, 50 year veteran, guys, we all make mistakes. And that's why it's so important to have a partner double check everything. Mercedes knows how to do everything now. And she'll walk behind me and she'll check to make sure that things were done. Or we'll get in the truck and we'll run through our final checklist. And it's the funniest thing. Every single time we forget usually one thing.
And it's something stupid.
Just one thing, unlock the back door where we have access to the bathroom when we're on the move. Yeah. Forgot to turn the inverter on, forgot to shut the pump off. These are all things you have to do. You got to pay attention. So even if you're just pulling off the road for 5 minutes to a stop, there's going to be a checklist you've got to go work through. Open your doors, go up, put on the pump so you can go to the bathroom. And so I'm going to get a little bit more into that a little bit later.
Well, actually,
Are we there?
Almost.
Okay.
The only thing we were going to mention too, which is like, if you don't have a water filter, you are the water filter.
Yeah, you guys.
And we really thought that we didn't do any research into this. So we thought
we had double protection because there was a filter, Camco filter on the rig.
Yeah.
And then we bought those blue little hose ones that we put. So they're not very good filters, guys. It's horrible. Like 0.5 microns or 5.0 microns. Exactly. It just helps with the taste. So if you're not filtering your water, and we have a 5-year-old little girl who brushes her teeth, uses the water, we want clean water. You are the filter. So invest in a good filter. We have a Berkey, and we also use the Clear Source, which, interestingly enough, the Clear Source cleans our water, all the water coming into our rig so good. We've never had to clean our Berkey. Yeah. Right? Because it's going all the way down to 0.05 microns. So get a water filter. Trust us. Some of these parks have really bad infrastructure and pipes, especially at these parks around the country that have been closed all year, and they don't flush them out properly. When they turn everybody on in spring, let's go camping. You just don't know what you're drinking, guys. So filter your water.
And not just for yourself, but it's also going to keep the plumbing in the RV lasting longer. The water heater is going to thank you for keeping a water filter. Yep. So definitely make sure that you're doing that. It's kind of like if you had 2 strainers and you put water through the strainer, you could technically say that you've double filtered your water. But if the holes in the strainer are this big, you've really,
what a waste.
Yeah, you've only filtered it for rocks.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So the next one, which this is in the stuff, that's so easy to forget. So whether it's the inverter when you plug into power, or whether it's the water pump when you plug into city water, those things are so easy
to break.
They're so easy to forget. And it's like you have to have two modes when you're in the RV. I have full hookup mode, and then you have
I'm moving mode.
Yeah, or non-full hookup mode.
Right.
And so keep in mind, like, where do you stand?
Right. And so when you're plugged into city water at the campground, you want to make sure your pump is shut off, because it'll burn that pump out. You've got both working at the same time. When you pull over, when you're traveling, obviously we have behind us a residential refrigerator. We do not have a propane refrigerator. We absolutely love it. But when we're traveling and we have no power, that refrigerator runs on 2 batteries. And so our inverter has to be on to keep things, cool. So when you pull over again, just check your inverter, always check your water pump, check your additional water heater. We'll take a look at that. But these are things that after you do it for a while, and you're going to mess it up, you're going to forget it, but you'll get it. Just stick with it.
I think the next one is easy to forget, because you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to be chasing 70. So I don't really need things for winterizing, because I'm never going to be in cold weather with my RV. No, I'm sorry to tell you, but like, you can make the best plans ever. You could be like a meteorologist and you're still going to like mess up. Okay.
Yeah.
Weather is crazy and nobody really knows what the weather is going to do. So when it comes to things like, carrying a heated hose, you should probably speak more to that.
Well, be ready for anything, guys. We scream about freedom, independence, and adventure. And the best part of this is the adventure. We can have a plan, but God laughs at us, right? Mm-hmm. Our plans constantly change. We go where we feel we're led or where we can help most. That's what we do. That's what we've been doing since we left. And you don't know when you have to shoot up to Indiana, in the fall.
Especially if you live with this one.
Right.
Like, you never know where you're going to end up.
Where we're going to end up. So just be ready for everything. A small heated hose will be very helpful. Carry a little bit of antifreeze with you. In case you really get stuck in really bad weather. You just don't know where you're going to be or where you're going to break down. Mm-hmm. And so you got to be ready for everything.
Yeah. And the next one, speaking of like kind of trying to manage the weather, the other extreme is really when it gets really hot. And one of the things that we've noticed, and we've kind of learned this the hard way, is that when it gets really hot and our cabinets are closed, the AC might be running and it feels comfortable, but those closed cabinets will actually keep the food really hot. So John's demonstrating right now.
So this is our pantry, right next to the refrigerator. This sits right over my 5th wheel pin, which I love, right? Because the kitchen gets less damage than anything else in the RV. If you got stuff in the back of the RV, that's where it's the most violent when you're traveling, right? But this, because the cone is up front, this gets super, super hot, guys. So when we're pushing 90-degree weather, especially being in Florida, we just leave these open, so that some of that air can circulate in, because things up in here, like medications that need to be stored below 80 or whatever degrees, all of our stuff is up here. So we've got to keep this closed. And when it gets super hot, I'll put on a little clip fan right here and kind of circulate that air to keep it somewhat cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was kind of cool that you were able to just show that. That was pretty cool. All right, so this next one is pretty embarrassing. This is probably one that really bothered John a lot, but luckily it's something that I did that was dumb and not something that you did that was dumb. You were over at the neighbor's house, and this was when we were renting the Class C, and the stove, it was one of those that didn't have that extra safety in it. So I think our kid must have like just twisted the knob in the stove just a little bit. And the propane was starting to smell like rotten eggs, right? And it was getting to the point where it was like, oh my gosh, this smells so bad. I don't want to be on this side of the RV. I want to move to this side of the RV. It just stunk so horrible. So when I realized that it was propane, though, and I realized that the little stove had been on the on position, I started opening all the windows to like vent it out. And John sees me kind of.
I was furious. I'm sitting at the neighbor's house next door and see her opening windows. It's getting dark out.
Yeah.
I go outside. She says, oh, she's from inside the RV. It stinks like gas in here. And I'm like, well, get out.
Yeah.
Get out of the RV. If you smell gas in your RV, guys, if you can shut stuff off, remember, you can always go outside and shut off the main. Then nothing's getting gas. But get out of the RV. Get the heck out of the RV. These things can be explosive. So, yeah, that was not a good night for us. I was so mad at Mercedes. The dog was still in here. The baby was still in here. And she's going around trying to fix it, sparking stuff and everything else. But we learned a tough lesson.
Well, yeah, and he learned to be nicer about the way, because he was right.
I was so mad.
You can be right, but be nice when you're right, because don't worry, the next day
I'll make the next mistake.
Exactly. You're always taking turns on who's making the mistake.
It's true. Yeah,
that's marriage, right? All right, so that is the when stationary kind of tips. Now let's talk a little bit about power management, because this is something that we did that was so dumb. Speaking of propane, I didn't know that there was another way to heat your RV other than propane. I thought it was just propane.
Propane is the least efficient way to heat your RV when it's cold outside, guys. If you're plugged into park power.
Yes.
We're 90% of the time plugged into park power. So when you're plugged into park power, use the electricity. Typically, it's included in our rent when we lease a spot, right?
Exactly.
It's included. So use the power and always conserve your propane. These things are not insulated very well for both heat and cold. And so when you're trying to heat your rig on propane, you will burn through propane so fast. Especially, my love, when you like the temperature at 75, 76 degrees in here.
I'm from a tropical climate. I'm a tropical person.
So grab some space heaters. Everybody will tell you differently. This thing called a heat buddy or a propane heat buddy. I don't like running a fire inside my rig. So I'm more apt to go with the small ceramic heaters. We got 2 or 3 of them that we'll have around the RV. But you got to control your power management. You got to know where those are plugged into. You want to have them on 2 different home run lines, right? 2 separate lines. If you're running 2 heaters on one line, it's going to pop your breaker constantly. So you'll slowly get to understand how your rig works and how it doesn't work. Now, that being said, when you're in really, really cold weather, you have to let your propane run. Yes. Okay, at least a little bit. Put it on 65, 66. Because the way these are designed is when the propane's running, it will heat the stacks and the little chases and little holes in your RV so that it doesn't freeze in the RV. They're designed like that, guys. So you can't just shut it off completely, unless it's above 33, then you can just use all electric. But if it's going to dip below freezing, always run your heat a little bit with the propane, because they're designed to heat those things that you didn't think of.
And this is where you really have to have 2 modes. Okay. So you have plugged in mode and not plugged in mode. And so it was actually Hubert's Travels that taught me this. And we'd been RVing a while.
Yeah, we miss those guys. I miss John.
Good people. So when he's plugged into power, he doesn't cook on the stove. He uses his Ninja or whatever. He uses electricity to cook when he's plugged into power. When he's not plugged into power, he uses propane to cook.
I have fun with propane.
Psh, what a concept. Cook based on what you have most of and what costs less.
Yeah, and it's going to save you on your budget big time, guys. If you're in park power, if you have park power, use it. Unless you're paying extra for it. And usually the only time you pay extra for park power is when you're there long term, and they'll send you a bill at the end of the month. You've never had that happen.
Exactly. So that's why it's oh, duh, I should use. And then if you're in boondocking mode, depending on what your power source is, that's going to determine what you should lean into. And that's why you need to have redundancies so that you could live fully electric and you could live fully on propane.
Yeah. Solar is super exciting. We're testing out a couple systems right now with 6 or 7 different panels.
Yeah.
We're just starting to learn how solar systems work in an RV.
Those redundancies.
The redundancies, what if? The longer you RV, the more redundancy you're going to start to build up. So you got the generators as backup. You got solars as backup. How long you can get off your batteries when you're trying to charge keep a refrigerator cool.
Yeah.
These are all things that you're not going to get right away unless you're a rocket scientist and you can run the calculations on what takes. And there's people out there that know how to do this.
Yep.
John Calo.
Yeah.
I mean, he could do it. He would tell you right to within a half hour if you're using this and this.
Yep.
A couple things you don't want to run when you're on battery powers. You don't want to run your microwave.
Yeah.
You don't want to run a hair dryer.
Yeah.
My love.
I don't do hair
you don't
dryer.
really do hair
No,
dryer anymore.
Not anymore. But this is all stuff that, learning how to manage what you have. And then this is our last power management mistake that John did not want to share about, but I'm like, yeah, we got to share it. Don't run your AC and your heat at the same time. Speaking for a friend.
It just depends on what part of the country you're in, right? Like we were in Colorado and it was 92 in the day and then dropping down to like 42 at night. So, just pay attention when you get out of bed, what's running. So we'll get out of bed and, when it's really cool, we've got electric heaters running, but I can always use my propane to take that little edge off right when we wake up and we're going to get coffee. Just remember to turn your AC off in different parts. We have 2 AC systems and 1 propane heating system, one furnace.
Yep.
And so just pay attention to that.
Yeah, it's really easy. Oh, thank you, honey.
Thank you. You want to say hi?
Yeah.
No. You don't want to say hi?
It's really easy to.
She's going. She's disappeared.
All right.
She doesn't like the camera.
Okay. It's really easy when you're in a climate that has both temperature extremes to find yourself using both at the same time and being completely ineffective. And that's not something we do often. It's just, every now and then you forget.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now let's talk about some of our maintenance mistakes. And after the section, we're going to talk about our uniquely stupid mistakes, and we're really going to clown on ourselves. So don't worry. We have a lot of dumb stuff that is just exclusive to us. But as far as maintenance, that visual inspection, super, super important. It's so easy to let off on that.
It is. So your visual inspection, you should be doing all the time. Just take a look at all your seals. What is caulked, where you see caulking break. Always doing a visual inspection on your tires. Mm-hmm. One time we stopped to do our 25-mile check when we hit the road, and I saw a big bubble on our tire, right? So just be looking for things that need to be fixed. Walking around your rig and making sure that your fire extinguisher is always full, that everything has batteries, making sure that you go ahead and clean, right? I mean, RVing in some of the places we go, it's dusty like crazy. Clean your filters on your AC units, spray out the do the maintenance you need to do to keep your rig running top notch.
Yeah. And this is easy to forget about, especially, and I don't think it's just hard to remember when you're a part-timer or a weekend warrior, right? Because you're not in the RV often. And when you are in the RV, you want to enjoy it. As a full-timer, like we're looking at the stuff all the time and it's easy to neglect, right? Like, oh, I should really dust that. I should really dust that a week later. I really, really, really should take care of that. So I think it's just human nature, but just a friendly reminder to always keep up on
your maintenance. Yeah, you'll get used to it. We're into this coming up on 2.5 years now, guys. We're starting to get pretty good at this.
Well, don't say that.
We'll pat ourselves. Yeah, but we're still going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And so, don't think that we're making fun of newbies. We just made every mistake you can make. So we're laughing at ourselves here.
Exactly. All right. So now are you ready for like the uniquely stupid to us?
Yes. Okay, guys. And then we'll take some questions. Go ahead, baby.
Okay. If you are a full-time RVer, never buy a 12-foot tandem bicycle that does not fold. That's a heavy e-bike for your outdoor activities.
That weighs about 260 pounds. I had to muscle that thing around for, almost 1,500 miles, guys. Just a dumb mistake. Remember, if you're living full-time in an RV, you want everything to be collapsible. You want to stick it into small spaces. You might have to get a bike rack. They don't even make a bike rack for a tandem bicycle that does not fold. That's less than 11 feet.
Yeah.
Our rig is 8 feet wide. So I had to put it up at an angle and bungee cord it here and bungee cord it there. The bike was broken. So that was a dumb mistake.
So then we're carrying a broken bicycle like halfway across the country.
Yeah, to Colorado.
And right now it's collecting dust at my mom's house.
It's still broken.
Sorry,
they never
Mom.
Fixed it.
Sorry, Mom. Yeah. Never let a bird build a nest in your RV when you're nomadic.
Yeah, guys, you know this story. Well, some of you may not know the story, but we pulled into Yosemite for a 2-week stay at 1,000 Trails Park, Yosemite Lakes. And I started watching these birds build this nest in my back ladder. Within 2 days, they had this cool nest, and I had all this video of them doing it. I was amazed by it. As soon as they laid an egg, the game changed. Fish and Wildlife came in and said, you guys can't move until those babies hatch and fly away. Oh, and by the way, if you scare them so that they abandon those eggs, you're on the hook for up to $20,000 fine and 6 months in jail. So, you know, this happened to us in our first 3 months of RVing. It was one of the most beautiful experiences we've ever had. But if a bird starts building something on your, you know, a nest on your rig, you got to clear it out, guys.
Yeah,
you got to clear it out
before there's an egg.
Before there's an egg.
As soon as there's an egg,
don't worry. They'll find somewhere else to build their nest. They will. They're resourceful. Yep. They'll know. Okay, I'm wasting my time. But just don't let them build a nest on your rig.
Yeah, it's actually better for the bird to not let them build a nest there, or they could get disturbed later.
Yeah.
Than the opposite. So you're actually helping the bird by not letting them build a nest, especially when you're nomadic.
Yeah, yeah.
You move.
We were there for 2 months. Yeah. And it was amazing. We get to watch the whole process. I've got probably 100 gigabytes of footage on these birds, you know, hatching, and it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. All right. The next one is do not drive a heavy dually in sand without
airing down. Yeah, without airing down your tires, guys. I knew this. We had just gotten to Pismo Beach. I thought it was great that California actually still let you drive out on the beach. They're trying to get you to not to do that anymore. But I decided that I would go out onto the beach, and we drove about 7 miles. I have dualies. You guys know. Dualies, it's not an engine, it's a compressor, and it is extremely heavy, those front wheels. Long story short, we sunk that on the beach, and it cost us $375 to get it out because the tide was coming in. So, you know, just know what your limits are, and if you're going to try it, just air down your tires as low as you possibly can.
All right, and then this next one, make sure that you lock down everything of value.
You got to lock everything. It's the world we live in, guys. It's sad, but it's true. 90% of the RVers that we meet are kind, loving, giving people, right? We love givers, not takers. There are takers out there. So lock down your bikes. Lock down. Liz Amazing. She had a bike stolen. We lost a generator, right? Because I had strapped it in, but I didn't lock it down. And so lock everything down, even foldable chairs, they will disappear.
I'm sure you guys can come up with a lot of other dumb stuff that we've done. I do think that there's two extremes. We're either genius, like totally creative geniuses, or we're like dumb as rocks. And we're never in between. It's always like either extreme.
Yeah, and I trust so much. Mercedes and I are so opposite. She likes to make lists and have a plan on what we're doing. And I'm the complete opposite. I don't want a plan. I don't even want to know what's going on tomorrow. I want to look at what's right in front of me and what I want to do right now.
Yeah.
But you got to have a little bit of both.
Yep. And then this is a big one that newbies do. And I don't think it's intentional. And I think that's why it needs to be brought up in this video, is that it's very easy as a newbie to accidentally be a jerk. Not because you're a jerk, but just you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And there's a certain kind of etiquette. And here's what's tricky too, is that it's going to depend on where you're camping. If you're camping in a forest, the expectations in the forest are going to be very different than if you're in a place that's like a pull off right on the side of the highway where the places are really close to each other. You know, the expectation of these campground etiquette rules in certain places are going to look differently. Yeah. And so couple of things. Obviously, etiquette is so important, you guys. Mm-hmm. The number one thing is just love thy neighbor. Be kind to everybody. Be friendly. What you give is what you get back. And your attitude is going to decide if you have a good time or not, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. Mm-hmm. You know, and so it's up to you and your attitude. Be kind to everybody. This has paid off for us so much. Pulling in, being super kind to the staff, being super kind to the maintenance guys. And then 5 minutes later, yeah, you know, and these are good people. So, you know, make every day a great adventure and be a good representative of God.
and be a good channel. And so make people smile, make them laugh,
Yeah.
and always be looking where you can help somebody else.
It's basic like kindergarten, please, thank you, sharing, very basic things. But when it comes to
Manners,
and when it comes to etiquette in an RV park, remember that the staff there, you're in their house, they're there all the time. And so there is an expectation. Be kind to them because they're not there to serve you. You're in their space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of idea, and also like reading the rules. Read the rules
when you go to every single park, guys. If it's a book, you better read them real close.
Kind of just scan it at least,
right?
Like get an idea.
Most campgrounds have a page and a half, just basic stuff, but just read them.
Yeah.
And as RV Odd Squad members, it's our responsibility to help somebody. Maybe they don't know. There are people that this lady did not know that she couldn't put the poop hose on the picnic table. I quickly brought it to her attention. That you don't do that. It's rude. Somebody's going to be eating there. And sure enough, somebody pulled in a family that didn't even know she was there. I warned them away.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's why, I think it's also like, we joke, like if you get a book of rules, send a copy to your attorney.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is kind of a joke. Like you don't really need to send a copy to your attorney, but know that different areas. So like regionally in the West where it doesn't rain a lot, they don't want your poop hose on the ground because the rain isn't going to come and wash it off. Whereas like in the East Coast where it's really wet, they, as long as the poop hose is hosed up and sealed, they're fine with it. So there are sometimes reasons for the crazy rules.
Yeah. And always leave your site or wherever you visit, leave it nicer than it was when you got there, guys. Yep. One simple improvement, just clean up after yourself. How would you like it left for you when you pull in with your family and 5-year-old children? Do you want them running around in a mess?
Exactly.
Or stuff that was dropped on the ground? And so just clean up after yourself. Be very careful. Think of others, and how you can make their lives better today.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, I really believe that the happier the journey will be. We love the RV lifestyle. We absolutely love our lives. I am so blessed beyond belief. Sometimes I don't even think I deserve all this. But we figured out what we want to do with our lives, and we do it every single day, and we focus on helping everybody we can, and the rest takes care of itself.
Well, and back to this list, I think it's concepts like, leaving no trace, and also respecting other people's property, but also respecting your own property, keeping your site clean and nice and tidy. And these are, there was in the comments, do I have to be a newbie to make this mistake? No, not necessarily. No. RV veterans do it too, especially with, you're walking the dog, you forgot the bag. Oh no, I totally forgot the bag.
Yeah.
Go back and get it.
Go get it.
You get like a 10-minute, free pass. Go back and get it.
Yeah.
And so it's not about being perfect. It's about doing the best we can and admitting, or one time I was on the opposite side of the park and the neighbor was out and I was like, the dog just went to the bathroom and I forgot a bag. Can I please have a bag? And they totally like let me one, and it was just, but those kinds of things, like just admit when you're having a hard time and when you're making a mistake, and people will help you.
Live your life like somebody's always watching you, right?
Yeah.
Because there is. Someone's always watching us in our conduct and what we do.
Yep. All right. So now questions and caps, people.
Questions and caps. We actually did that an hour and 3 minutes, which we wanted to do it an hour. We went a little bit long. It's probably my mouth that ran us a little bit long. But if you guys have some questions.
And I wanted to get to Brian's question. It was early on, and he's like, what about for people that have accessibility issues? What about ADA RVs and ADA compliance and so forth? And it is, I don't want to speak about something that I don't have experience with. I think I wouldn't be able to help somebody like, oh, look for this for ADA, accessibility. But there are other channels that do. One in particular, Van Life Voyagers, that's like a cornerstone of their channel. And so look for those kinds of channels that can share with you their personal experience. You should also be following a channel that has a similar type of RV to you, because the needs of a travel trailer are going to be very different than the needs of a diesel pusher. Right. So make sure that you're following people that are in kind, especially when you're new and learning, so that you can learn what tips they do, because tips for different RVs don't necessarily cross over.
Yeah, and we've done 2 fifth wheels. We've been in a class 31-foot Winnebago Class C that we've really enjoyed. And now our next rig is going to be a Class A. That's our next rig. We know that. It's a horrible time to want an RV right now because they can't make them fast enough. I can't find Brian's. Do you want to try it?
No, I'm not going to show it because it was too far ahead. So
Okay.
let's go back to some of these ones over here.
Hit the new comments.
All right. Well, actually, I'm trying to scroll up to the old comments. There was one in particular. How long have you guys been together?
11 years. We've been together 11 years. We met in a church basement.
Yeah. Has it been 11? I think we've been together longer than
Maybe
that. 12?
I
think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you on that. Is that bad that I'm not like that kind of? No, because I think 12.
How do you hook up a soft start? Mercedes did a video on it, you
I'm
guys.
an expert.
They're super easy. And the soft starts, they have a fantastic customer service department. You set an appointment and they'll walk you through the installation on the phone while you're connected it. Super easy. Coming into summer, you got to have it. You got to have a soft start.
And they'll help you. Don't try to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Get help.
Yeah.
Get help. How do I practice backing up a 36-foot rig?
Go to an empty parking lot on a Sunday. Get some cones and just start working at it. Go super, super slow. Hopefully you have a backup camera. It's one of the things we would highly suggest. We don't know why people don't have a backup camera. Or if you have a partner, just start practicing with walkie-talkies with your partner. Practice makes perfect, guys. It is a little overwhelming when you start. But every time you park the rig, you're going to build a little more confidence, until it's just so easy for us.
And there are places like people can teach you too. You can also get a class. At what point in the process should I pay for a certified inspector to inspect? I think as soon as you're like under contract or you've signed something.
And it's kind of an ugly thing, but some dealerships won't allow you to have a third-party inspector come in. And if that's the case, leave. Have a third-party inspector come in, especially now. Guys, they can't get enough material and they can't make these RVs fast enough. They're piecing these together with this part and that part and this part. You need a licensed inspector to go through your rig with a fine-tooth comb. We promise you that as soon as you take it off that lot, you're on your own. And if you do bring it back for warranty work or service, they could have it for months. And we're not kidding you. We're not kidding you. And so make sure everything is tip top. I know you want to get out there and camp, right? And have a good time because the life is awesome.
But
do not take the rig off until it's been inspected.
Yep. All right. Did the park make you pay rental since you had to stay because of the nest? No, it was a very rough situation.
It was stressful
in the beginning because apparently the person we needed to talk to was out of town and the people helping didn't have the authority. So
the Fish and Wildlife was saying, you guys, you can't leave. And then the park was saying, you guys can't stay here. We've got that site rented out. And this went on for about a week and we had no cell service at this place. So we drive 10 miles. We jump on the phone with this service, with this department and that department, trying to get to the right people. And then finally, a local newspaper ran a story on it in California. It kind of went viral. And then suddenly, once it was in the press, the park said, oh, you can say as long as you want to. We love animals.
Yeah. Well, and the person.
They never charged us a dime, guys.
Yeah, they did. Well, they did right. And the person that could have made the call wasn't in that whole week. So that was also a failure. They should have just picked up the phone and called the person. All right. I identify as a seasoned RVer. Can you please come up with a term other than newbie?
It's Tim. Tim's been with us forever. Hey, Tim. Tim has been with us since the beginning. And he hates the term newbie. The reason we use it is that it scores really well on the search engines in the RV space, newbie RVer. That's the reason. We're trying to help as many people as we can. We're certainly not trying to offend anybody, but newbie is it's kind of the language we started with. And remember, we're not making fun of anyone. We are the biggest mistake makers. We're just actually starting to get pretty good at this because 2.5 years, we're getting pretty good at this stuff now.
We're learning.
We're still going to make mistakes, though. So sorry, Tim.
Any idea how many sites you'll have at your campground? Well, at the moment, that's one of the things that should we give that update on the campground?
We don't know. We're still in the middle of due diligence. We're still in the middle of, this place, guys, Why they have not, the state or the government hasn't come in and grabbed this as a state park.
Yeah.
Or not, we don't know, because this
It's really
place
pretty.
is magical. There's so many little hidden pieces, and you just come up and these boulders that are the size of houses.
It should be at least a state park.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I don't want to give anyone ideas, so like,
Yeah.
don't tell people I said that.
But I mean, obviously, you got to consider economics, right? We have to make it work. It has to pay for itself, and hopefully make a little bit of a profit, like any business should. So it's just going to depend on, we don't want to force it so that they're doing what most of these corporations are doing, which is stacking these things up on top of each other. We love the original layout of the first 30 sites. There's lots of room. It's in the woods. You feel that privacy. And we'd like to keep it like that. But ultimately, we're going to have to hire somebody to come in and tell us what we can and can't do.
Exactly. All right. Robert wants to know what made you trade in your Grand Design for Forest River. We've actually always been a Forest River family.
We're a Forest River family.
No shame to or hate to the Grand Design people. There is kind of like a little bit of a friendly, like, I like my brand, and I'm going to be loyal to my brand.
Yeah.
But nothing.
We never had a Grand Design.
So I can't speak about them. You know what I mean? They don't have experience.
We've only had Forest Rivers, and we love them both, and we've never had major problems with either one of them.
Exactly. The little problems that we haven't caused ourselves, like going through a tornado. we ripped off the awning. It wasn't like, well, the storm did, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a good product.
Yeah, there's premium sites, there's this site, there's that site. Depends on if you have a membership or not.
This can really change. Some places, like 50 amp is considered premium, and there's
$3-4 a day for that. Some charge for pets, some charge for extra kids, which I think is insane.
Yep.
But remember, each person you add, especially if electricity is included with your site purchase, each person in there is going to use more water. They're going to use more electricity. So I can understand the economics of it. I just don't like it when they charge for kids.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And length is really premium sites. It's very difficult to find a 40, 50, 60, 70-foot site right now because they're booked so many months out in advance. But right now, guys, we've seen premiums on every single campground we've looked at. Prices are up 25, 35, 40%.
All right. How do I get around your chief of security? Well, Jack.
Mr. Jack's Journey. What's up, Jack?
You are the chief of security.
You are chief of security, yeah.
So I don't know. I really don't know what to say. It's a really funny story how
Jack was here
together.
Jack was here for 4 days before we got here. He held the fort down. We were upset with him at first, but he said that he felt called. And he's a beautiful person. He's a beautiful man. And he just sent us files of drone shots. He went ahead and documented this whole place, which it is worth a ton to us. We didn't have a long time to talk to Jack. I think we got to say goodbye to him, right?
Well,
by the time we got there. But we're hoping to have Jack back here before we leave.
Yep. And so reason for a Class A versus the fifth wheel. So when we first started this endeavor, here's the rub, is that a big Class A versus a big fifth wheel is kind of going to run you the same when you include the price of the truck if you don't already own a dually, right? And so that was tricky. I really loved the way that the fifth wheel looked and felt like a home. The size of it, the living area. It was very important for me to not feel like I was roughing it 24/7 because I have a kid, right? My expectations are going to be different for a weekend camping trip versus full time. And so for me, the fifth wheel checked those boxes that I needed to still feel like I was giving my daughter a home, and so it was really important for me to have that space. However, when you get down to it, the price point's not as different as you think. God bless you. Anyway.
Well, unless you get up into 400,000, 500,000, 600,000 diesel pushers, obviously there's a big price difference.
Well, but then when you count the price of the truck.
Yeah, fifth wheels. What we love about them is there's more living space than any other rig out there. You got a ton of living space, right? With the but we can't just drive away in a fifth wheel if we feel insecure. We literally got to get out of the rig, get to the truck to drive away. In a Class A, for security purposes, something weird or we don't feel right, we can drive away from that site. We also have a Jeep now, and we want to pull our Jeep behind a Class A.
Eventually,
Yeah, eventually we're hoping we really want a Class A, you guys. We've loved Sandy, we've loved Sandpiper, Forest River products, but we really want a Class A at this point. And we want Sage to have her own private bunks. Yeah, we want her to have her own private bunks.
All right, this is a John question. I'm gonna put sugar in my coffee. I never drink my coffee, and I'm like.
Well, it's a good question. Yeah, we don't need LP to run our refrigerator. It's a residential fridge. And the reason why we shut our propane off is those lines typically will run underneath the, within the skirt, underneath the RV, the underbelly. And anything can kick up off the road, just like it can get you a flat tire, something can kick up and do a break in that line. And so that's why we always should just shut your propane off. That's the other reason we love the gas stop. We think it's so important that you get one. Again, I think they're like $80 a pop. You put one on each. And then if you forget to turn off your LP before you start to move, the gas stop will sense when there's a sudden leak and it shuts off.
All right. Excellent. Okay. I lost my spot.
Well, I didn't touch it.
No, you didn't do it. It's my fault. So I'm going to need you guys to put questions in caps. I want to thank some people. Dana's Wanderlust Crochet.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you. Those of you that we don't do this for the super chat.
We don't do this for money. We guys, this is the 5th month.
Yeah.
Of our newbie training series that we started. It's been 5 months now. We plan on doing this for 6 months, and we do this for free. There's other channels that charge $200, $300, $400 to do this stuff. And we don't charge at all. We think that RV education should always be free. And that's why we're doing this. And we're going to continue past the 6 months. It's a lot of work. We spend a lot of time doing this. But again, we don't worry about the money piece of it. We help as many people as we can. And the money piece takes care of itself.
And also thank you, Laura and Georgia. There's a couple of you guys that have also joined in. But I can't access your thing to put it up on the screen. But I just want you to know that we've been seeing them and trying to thank you in the comments.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who gave us a few bucks.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We can't find them. Pamela B, do you ever run into semi-tractors? Chris and Cindy of the Honor Flag Network just got a semi-rig to pull their fifth wheel, the GD fifth wheel. They love it. They absolutely love it. And I think if I was to ever stay with the fifth wheel, I might consider doing that as well.
All right.
And no, I've never seen a campground have problems with the semis.
All right, this is a tricky one. What size do you recommend for a single female newbie? So this is really going to depend on you and how you live. Do you have pets? What you feel comfortable with? And I think it's also really going to depend on what you do.
Physical ability.
Well, that, and also what do you do with your spare time? Like, are you going to be outside? Are you going to be inside? So I don't want to say like all solo newbies should be in this kind of RV. I think it really, really depends on what you feel comfortable with. What do you feel comfortable driving in? Right.
And obviously, a fifth wheel would be a little bit more taxing physically than just a regular Class A.
The motorhomes are typically easier in that you don't have to connect and disconnect.
Exactly. Skip and Cassandra, there they are. Cool. Yeah. Skip and Vicky, thank you guys. Thank you for that money. We really appreciate it.
Yep. Were you thinking of an electric Class A? I don't know what that is.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. I can't imagine it would go more than 100 miles. That is a lot of power. Or how it would get to. I mean, it's interesting. We're in the future, right? I guess it's coming, but I would say that's another 20, 25 years away.
Yeah, at least one with the power.
Yeah.
All right. How do you run your residential fridge, which we're giving
Yeah, we have an inverter that takes the battery power and it converts it to 110. And so that's why our inverter's on when we're on the move. And the truth is, guys, we can actually drive about 2 hours and lock up our fridge so the doors won't open and it will hold temperature. But we run the inverter anyways.
Yep. All right. Once finalized, will you respond to all of your initial survey respondents? Yeah, and that's what we've been trying to do is that if you gave us your email, then you're going to be first to know about things. Because if you're willing to give us your email, then we'll tell you, what's going on. And we had different boxes depending on what kind of interest you had. And that is going to help us to, say, hey, who's interested in this? Who's interested in this?
As what we were doing is sharing a dream with you guys. And we made a lot of mistakes, as we always do. We've already learned a lot. If we were to ever do this thing again, if it doesn't work out, we've learned a lot on what to do next time. Mm-hmm. But this is such a massive venture. It's more than we ever imagined. I had a vision and a calling, and we Mercedes, I am so blessed to have a woman like her that just said, let's go for it. Let's see where this thing lands.
Thank you for saying that, because a lot of women would have been like,
no, I got the greatest woman on the face of this. Thank you, Catherine B. Thank you, Catherine B.
Yeah, special thanks to well, we have a couple Catherines. No, we have a Catherine B. Thank you. And then we have a Kathleen.
Oh, Kathleen. Robinson. Yeah, thank you, Kathleen Robinson. Appreciate that.
And then we have a Kathy Taylor. Mm-hmm. And then,
just so you guys know,
Jeremiah.
We've received over 3,000 contacts. We can't possibly contact all those people.
No.
We've had to talk to attorneys. We've had to learn a lot of new things we didn't know we had to know, because we want to do this right. We want this to work out. Our goal is not about making money. And a lot of people that have reached out are just interested in making money. Our goal is to have a successful RV park where we can live by those principles and share those principles we shared in that video. Mm-hmm. That's what this is about. And if the thing can pay for itself, perfect. If it makes a few extra bucks, even better.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that is so important to us, is partnering with the right people that have that full kind of perspective.
That are RV Odd Squad members. We've talked to people that pretended like they were RV Odd Squad. We want RV Odd Squad members to jump in this with us. Some people didn't even know Sage's name.
Yeah.
They just, so it's been a whole interesting thing. We've met some really beautiful people along the way, and we've also run into some not so beautiful people along the way that is all about selfishness and self-centeredness, and we don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah. It's been crazy. Yeah. It's been really
Thank
crazy.
you, Jeremiah.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
All right. And then Peg.
Thank you, Peg.
Quick question. Please make sure that you keep your questions in.
Whoa, Roy Pace.
Wow.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you so much. Again,
happy to help.
Yeah, we're gonna answer everyone's question.
Richard DeGazio gave us $1.
Oh my goodness.
All right, now you're not even getting Boondog 2020, Richard. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a half a grape. I'm going to give a grape. Let Sage bite half a grape, and I'll give you the other half.
Well, that's epic. That is epic. All right.
Oh, just so you guys know, he's been
helpful to us.
So many of the RV Odd Squad members have been so selfless in just trying to help us through this process. And Richard DeGazio is one of these guys, and he's from my part of the country. He's a Red Sox Patriots fan.
Yeah.
And he was just the guy that's been there to give us the support. He's been very, very successful in his life, and just giving us pointers on how to weed our way through this whole thing. And we've actually talked to him 4 or 5 times on the phone, and we've come to know his wife, Virginia. They're just beautiful people.
So don't judge him for his
his buck.
Yeah.
I think YouTube gets 90 cents of that buck, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. No, it's the thought that counts, Richard.
Of course. I was kidding.
Jane, very cool.
Hey, thanks, Jane.
I need to learn more about our Canadian, our
we love our Canadians,
but I know nothing about Canada, and everyone's
know hockey.
Tell me more about the rules in Canada, and I don't talk about Canada because I don't want to give you guys bad information.
And we want to get up into Canada eventually when they open the border back up. Canada's a beautiful place. We want to spend a whole summer up there.
Exactly. Accurate window and door. Thank you.
Did you miss somebody else?
No, I didn't. But there was something that I really wanted to. There was a really good question that I think we need to address. If there was one piece of advice for new RVers, what would it be?
Go slow.
I have to agree wholeheartedly.
Go slow and just research, and watch lots of videos. Watch lots of videos, guys.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. Richard DeGazio, $50. You didn't need to do that, Rich.
Oh, now I feel...
So if I give you more compliments, can we get that up to 100, Rich?
No, you need to... No. Obviously, he works with insults. You'll get more out of him.
I get more. Yeah, that's kind of how we roll in the Northeast. Is buddies bust each other's nuggets, and
the meaner you are to each other, the more you care.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. We love you guys.
He obviously loves them.
We can't wait. We can't wait to meet you in Virginia. Hopefully, it'll be here at this campground.
Yeah. All right. When you purchase your own RV park, will you use the 10-year-old? No, I think we're just going to do like a pride of ownership.
Pride of ownership. I mean, we've seen some I love the old rigs that they're retroing, going back and remodeling.
Oh, yeah.
if you love your rig, then we want to have you in here. And so, yeah, there's not going to be any 10-year rule here.
I think I've seen some RVs.
All you need to do to come visit us at our campground is you need to be kind,
yeah,
be polite,
yep,
right? Love the neighbors around you, and always be willing to help everybody. We want everybody to check their baggage at the front gate.
Yeah.
When you come in, and then once you're here, it's a happy place.
So how do you become an RV Odd Squad member? Well, if you look down in the description, there'll be a sign up for RV Odd Squad membership. It is probably the least prestigious organization you can ever join. In fact, when you join, you will get an email stating that you need to make your own membership card, because that's how we roll here.
Yeah.
So,
and RV Odd Squad members are kind, courteous, have manners, and are always looking to help other people.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah.
All right. Mohawk. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Jim Manley.
Let's see. They're going through the 30-day due diligence, Alabama. Exactly. That's why we can't answer questions that we don't know.
Yeah, we just can't answer questions, guys, that we don't know, but we're pretty excited about this whole thing, and we can't wait for you guys to come visit us if it goes through.
Yeah.
Remember, Mercedes and I are emotionally attached to this place now. We absolutely love it. But this is God's will, not ours.
Yeah.
So we're still praying. Sometimes what you hope for can be a bad thing, and sometimes what you don't think you want can be a good thing.
And if we fail, we're just hoping to fail forward.
Yeah, we're gonna fail forward and see what happens. So thine will, not ours, be done.
Thank you so much, SN.
Hey, thank you.
We really appreciate that. Show us.
Congratulations, they're new. They just got out last weekend.
What, last weekend?
Yeah, just went full time last
Yes,
week. Welcome
okay.
to the life, SNN.
If y'all freak out, don't worry.
Yeah,
It's
it
part
takes
of
a
the
little while.
process.
Yeah,
You're
but
gonna
enjoy
have-
the honeymoon.
Yeah,
Enjoy the honeymoon. We love this life, guys.
Yeah,
love
and
it.
there'll be hard times, and you'll freak out, but don't worry.
Mhm.
Okay, the secret handshake.
Okay, if you're
Ready?
an RV Odd Squad member, the secret handshake is
There is no secret handshake.
there's no secret
But
handshake.
don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anybody that.
Don't let them
Yeah.
know.
You can't let them know.
Yep. All right. Thin Blue Line. We want to thank you for your service, because I'm assuming Thin Blue Line is
Yeah,
law enforcement.
Yeah, law enforcement. We love our law enforcement, you guys.
Yeah. It's
Love 'em.
unfortunate. Some of our videos that have done the worst are ones where we talk about the honor flag, and like it's like this amazing, heart-wrenching story, and like it doesn't get views.
Yeah, our favorite videos are the ones that do very well.
Yep.
They just don't do very well. Our favorites.
Mhm. All right. I'm an RV. I'm an RN. I thought you said I'm an RV. I
You got
need
a
to stop
ton of
doing that.
RNs down here that
Isn't
want
that so cool?
Yeah, it's so cool. Hi, Peg.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Pride of ownership. Brilliant. People are
Just
really.
just be proud of your stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And just be friendly and smile and help other people. This place will be great.
I agree with that. All right. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. Friendly reminder to put questions in caps. Are we nearing not the top of the hour?
We are nearing 90 minutes.
Okay.
Our daughter has been absolute. Sage is doing so good, you guys.
And
We
don't wanna
are
push
so blessed. She's amazing. She's
Yeah.
absolutely the joy of our lives. Oh God.
My only regret is that I feel like if I could, I try to focus on her all throughout the day, but with work and everything like that, it's like, I really hope that this campground can go through and we can connect with other kids.
With
and
other
more stable
kids, yeah, and build
spaces.
Sage a playground that will just be incredible.
Yeah, she's like, there's no playground. Where's the playground? So it's like, well, we got to make sure we buy it before we put a playground in. But
And this year is going to be Sage's first year in school. So we got to work all that out. Maybe we can do school here at this campground.
Okay. So a lot of people are asking about why would there be discrimination against RVs over 10 years old? Well, some RV parks, they don't want
They put an age limit.
Yeah, because they don't want it to look like Breaking Bad, okay? And so they're like judgy about like you need to have a fancy new RV,
Right.
but what that ends up doing is it can actually be it can actually be discrimination.
Well, I mean, it's yes and no. I mean, parks don't want pieces of junk in their park. It lowers their rate. Well, they can't get as much money. You're going to pull in, they charge $60-$70, and you pull in, you see
Breaking
just a
Bad
mess.
next door. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that scares people. So I understand it, but some of it's just ridiculous. You'll call and they'll ask you what year is your rig, and if it's more than 10 years old, they don't even want to see it. I would say send us a picture.
Yeah.
Do you love your rig? Do you pride of ownership?
Is
Absolutely.
it in good working condition? Because that's another piece too. Schoolies have a hard time because they don't have like RVIA approved wiring.
Right.
And then it's like, well, I don't know. Do you want somebody that has wiring that may not be functional to Right.
And I love looking at schoolies. I think schoolies are cool.
But how do you test their wiring? That would be the only thing, is to make sure that it doesn't hurt the park. Okay. Question. What's the biggest challenge in being a husband and wife team?
Biggest challenge, I would say, I know my answer. You want to go first?
No, go first.
I think the biggest challenge in being the husband and wife team is taking care of ourselves spiritually. So the most important relationship in my life is with my God. And Mercedes, I think the same thing. And then Sage comes second, and then we come third. And when we get away from that, we can get in trouble pretty quick. So that would be mine.
You know, why do you have to go spiritual? Because I was about to say something like, my biggest challenge is that he doesn't listen. But after he said something like that, I'm going to sound like so bad if I say that, although I am poking fun. But I think it's really important, that self-care piece, to piggyback off of what he's saying. I need to have my alone time. There are certain things that I cannot put on his shoulders, that are not intended for his shoulders. So, you know, that, and the fact that he doesn't listen.
Well, remember, guys, we're best friends.
Yeah.
I consider us more best friends than lovers. Mercedes and I do everything together. We're a team. It's us against the world. And we really believe that with God's help, there's nothing we can't accomplish. Mm-hmm. Put each other first. For me, I got to put my ego away a lot of the time, and just know that we're doing the right things. And the other challenge, I think the challenging part is that we need to give a lot of attention to our daughter, Sage. She gets most of our attention on a daily basis, guys. And, we don't keep up with a lot of things as best we can, but Sage gets, most of our time. And then we'll kind of toss on and off. So when one of us is always with Sage doing something, and it makes it a little challenging to run a business, but we wouldn't change a thing. She's the most important thing. And the rest of this would go away if that was ever threatened.
And that's what's so important, is to always remember that.
Amen, Marie Rosen.
Without us being intact, the family, the relationship, our health, like those basic things, there is no channel without that. So as tempting as it is sometimes, when a video is going viral, to put the channel first and like, oh, we'll take care of our own needs later. Let's work on this. It's so important to not put the cart before the horse. And I think, to piggyback off of that, when I disagree with him or when he disagrees with me, it's very easy to take it personal. It's like, you don't like my idea, you don't respect me, or you don't think I'm smart, or whatever crap I have to deal with on my own. And it's so important. It's so important to say, okay, what does he see that I don't see? Because he's coming from a different perspective, and he's seen something that from my vantage point I don't see. Or when I challenge him and I'm like, I hate that idea. I love you, but I cannot stand your idea. He needs to not take it personal and say, okay, what does she see that I don't see? Why does she disagree with me so much?
Right. I got this one. Oh, wait a second. Let's see.
Easier said than done.
We don't tell people what we are. We live our faith.
I hope so.
Period. Yeah. We'll say something, you guys. And I don't know. Some people like this, some people won't. But we really, truly believe and live in our faith. And so we try to live as he did, as best we possibly can.
And not use the words.
Not use the words. Because I'll be honest with you guys, one of the things that really freaks me out is when I meet somebody for the first time and they'll say, I'm a Christian. And usually my hair will go back up on the, why do you need to tell me that? Why don't you just show me that by the way you live, the way you treat people?
Or what's worse is they'll talk about someone in a not so good way, and they'll say, but they're not a Christian.
Right.
And that's like, you're missing the point.
You're missing the whole point. And I don't think that's how Jesus would have lived his life. I am a Christian. I am. I love Jesus Christ. But I don't drive good enough to put the fish on the I'm not a good enough person to put that stamp on me, because I make a lot of mistakes and I don't want to screw up the marketing.
Yeah. We're gonna make people shy away.
Don't listen to what I say. Watch what we do. Yeah. And we spend our lives trying to help as many as we possibly can, and God takes care of the rest.
Yeah. That's very, very fair, because it's like, we don't want to hurt.
No, and then we get things like, oh man, you don't want this religion. No, all we want is principles of what this country was founded on. People that were kind and friendly and loving to their neighbors, you know, and they can practice patience and pause when they get upset.
Mm-hmm.
Just principles that make us all, you know, a nice place to live together.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're
There's
getting
one
some
more.
really good questions. Would you consider installing an RV workshop?
Yeah, man. I mean, you would have no idea, Strat Rider, how many things have gone through our heads. We've got some really good friends that are new techs that went through the classes, got the decks. We love. There's 226 acres on this place, and there's tons of room for development. Mm-hmm. We would love to make this RV Odd Squad central. We could do 3 or 4 meetups a year here. We actually would like to build some type of a track so that we could fly people in that don't have RV experience.
RV boot camp
and teach people how to do RVing correctly. We're super excited about that. And having techs on site.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, there's a lot of, we're super excited about a lot of things, but first things first, we have to prove funds in 6 days.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
We need to find the right person. We're like praying for the right
person.
That has the principles and the vision.
Money's not the problem. Now it's picking a good person.
The right partner.
Boy, we have had quite a mix of people, very selfish and self-centered, people that are very willing and giving.
Yeah.
And so
people that are
we're inviting people in, we're talking to them, we're praying about it. And then Mercedes and I are talking about, you know, could you be partners with that guy? Do you trust him? You know?
Really good question. Sorry, I got really excited about this question. How is the local community responding to your plans? Okay, this is hilarious. Okay. So my husband, he's not a Yankee, but he's from the Northeast.
I'm not a Yankee.
Because Yankees are totally different than Bostonians, right? Totally different.
It's true.
But he's from the Northeast. So he speaks a little abrasively, right? Okay. So we got the number to the town hall, and he had me call because he's like, I can't make this phone call.
We had to call the mayor.
He's like, if they hear my voice, it's not going to go good.
Yeah.
So you call, honey. And this is like, this is a conversation that he would love to be the one having the conversation or have both of us on. We normally do speakerphone and both of us are in there. He's like, honey, I think you should make this phone call.
Yeah, because listen, the bottom line, guys, is that everybody has their own type of belief systems, right? They're all built into us. Yep. This is just what we learn as we go through, right? With these empty computer chips that get filled up with experiences.
Yep.
And so when I talk in the South, they don't know me yet.
Yeah.
And first impressions is so important. And typically, most down here don't trust guys that talk like me.
Yeah. And maybe
it's
they have good reason
it's like,
for that.
I'm in Boston and I hear you have a New York or New Jersey accent. I don't trust you right away.
Yeah.
Because of experiences that I had. It's not that I'm biased or anything. It's just I have my own belief systems. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was so important that when we reach out and make contact with the town, we go neutral, which is Mercedes is Colorado.
So
she's neutral.
City. I'm city.
Yeah. And then once they get to know me, you guys will know this for a fact. When people first see me on the channel, they don't like me. Either you like me a lot or you just don't like me. Mercedes, everyone loves Mercedes. They don't even remember my name as we travel. Oh, hi, Mercedes. And what's his name?
Yeah.
Right. My point is that we're going to the local church tomorrow, which is going to be fun. There's going to be hundreds of people there. And, you know, they'll get to see how I act. Mm-hmm. They'll see how I live my life. There was a couple of questions I didn't like and that we refused to answer, but just watch how I live. Mm-hmm. Watch how I live my life. Watch me help God's other kids. Mm-hmm. And when you see that, you'll know it doesn't matter how I talk. I'm a good person and I help as many people as I can.
Yeah. So I think the Mason-Dixie line is what, sorry, babe.
Arthur Leslie. Hey, Arthur, how are you, bud?
You know, I'm trying to tell him that, but he doesn't listen to me. So if you say it, Arthur, he'll hear you. But so it was hilarious. So I got to talk to the mayor and to answer your question, because we never really answered your question.
Sorry.
No, it's we kind of got on a tangent, but the answer is that the community is actually really excited. And we've gone about it really smart because we haven't gone about it and said, hey, we're coming. And y'all need to change everything you do for us because now we've arrived. What we're saying is like, would the community be open to this? Would
you guys support the community? And one of the things that we've loved so far is people are so nice in Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of Forrest Gump, the movie, right? I love that people are so kind and friendly here. People are walking in and just kind of sitting down talking to us, telling us how they grew up all along these little secret rocks and creeks behind us. Mm-hmm. They're talking about that a lot of them were baptized and this big area that's right on this property called the pool, right? And so it's moving us. And so far, the community wants to support us 100%, and they want us to see it. Bring the campground back, because there's a lot of memories in this campground for most of the community, all the way back to when they were kids.
Yeah, and that's been such a blessing. But I will tell you that we were told, like, you know, you should go to the Baptist church to you know, to meet some of the people that are active in the community and some of the more influential people in the community. Well, I thought, okay, in Colorado, it's like you're in Aurora and there's like a Baptist church in this area, and then like 20 miles away you'll be like another Baptist church. But it's not going to be like, okay, so this is a population of like 710.
The population is 719, and there's 6 Baptist churches in this town.
I didn't know we had to ask which one.
Yeah. So they said the Baptist church. We're like, okay, and which one? So we just found out which one. It's right next to the high school, and we will be there tomorrow and start saying hi to everybody.
Yeah.
We need the support of the local community for this to work, because we don't see a lot of people around full-time RVers or RVers coming into this part of the country in like July, August, September. It's hot down here, you guys.
Exactly.
Same thing in Florida. So maybe the local community, we can give them a discount. They used to use, they used to call the hall here Fellowship Hall.
So keeping
and they used to do Sunday
names.
Brunches here, you know, and the kids remember the pool here. So I think we've got support.
Yeah, and that's just so important. And I'm really hopeful that this can work out. I mean, because here's the thing. I do think we could actually fill this place year round with our community, and as like tight knit as our community is. The problem that I see is that if the local community doesn't want us here,
it's dead.
Then what are our people going to experience when they're here, right? Because if we come here and we create this park, that means we're going to be bringing more people here.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be like impacting the local grocery store and the local farmers market and the local ice cream parlor. And so we need to make sure that they're on board with that.
And they are.
Yeah.
They are. And I'm sure the tax revenue is going to be very, I don't even know what it is. The taxes are so low here. Alabama is a great state to do business. And Kelly McCall, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, Mama says. Yeah, and stupid is as stupid does. My favorite movie, my all-time, is Forrest Gump. It's my number one favorite movie. My truck's name is Bubba Gump. The first rig we had was Forrest. Okay, we had a Jenny. I love that movie. And actually, it was going to put a Greenbow, Alabama on the entrance. It's the only movie that I've watched where I actually can sit there and say the words all the way through the movie. So I love that movie.
We got asked where's the closest Walmart. The closest Walmart
25 minutes.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's 25 minutes away. This town is, you guys will see, it's charming. It's so charming. It's so old school. I feel like we're back 40 or 50 years. People are just friendly. They wave. Yeah. Everybody waves when you drive by. Can you imagine a place like that? I love it. I'm in heaven. Yeah. I have not waved to anybody where they didn't wave back. And I'm the first guy to wave. Yeah.
All right. I think we're getting close to the top of the hour.
So we're at an hour 42, you guys. So thank you for coming.
Yeah. We're sorry if we missed your question.
Sorry if we missed your question.
We really tried. It's just we have the attention span of,
you know. If you are a member of our email list or you signed up for the opt-in to find out updates about what's going on in the campground, eventually we will probably be doing a Zoom call with you guys just to fill you in on what's going on. We're only in the very probably second inning at this point. It's a long way to go before we start even talking about how this thing's going to look. We're looking at a lot of different things. Don't even want to mention anything, but we are super excited. We're super proud of the community that the RV Odd Squad has become.
We're so blessed.
We love you guys. We are so blessed, and we want to do what's right for all of us. Not just what's right for us. We want to do what's right for all of us as a community, and maybe we can affect change in this world for the better. So we love you guys. Have an awesome day, and we'll talk. Well, see you in tomorrow's video.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.